Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for another episode of KlingsporFIT. First off, we have Tammy Guess, our HR manager, and she's going to come and give us an update on COVID.
Thank you, Lorie. Good evening, everyone. Just our numbers, current numbers for our COVID update, and we'll start with Catawba County in our area we work in. As of last Wednesday, there was 586 cases reported and a total of 23,333 cases in Catawba County. With that, we have the percentage of vaccinations is 46%, and there was a little bit of trending down on the cases in the last week, so hopefully that's a positive thing. The next slide is North Carolina. In North Carolina, we had newly reported cases as of today, 3,469. There's a 10.6% positivity rate of testing, and currently there's 3,073 people in the hospital. And of our vaccination rate, 64% are vaccinated in North Carolina, and that's up from 62% last time we spoke. In our hospital system, Catawba Valley Health System is currently reporting, as of yesterday, 63 patients are hospitalized. And 7 of those have been vaccinated. In ICU, there are 20 patients, 2 of those have been vaccinated, and then there are 18 that are on ventilators, and 2 of those have been vaccinated. And as reported last time, usually with the vaccination people, there's usually underlying conditions that they're stating that causes them to have a worse case. And on our next slide, we see our high transmission across the United States. And this has changed somewhat in respects to last time we met, Puerto Rico was in a substantial color of orange. Now they are yellow, along with California, which is moderate, which has come down. So hopefully that's a good sign, but of course the rest of the United States is high transmission areas. Then for our U.S. COVID-19 vaccination progress, we see that there's a 55.4% vaccination rate. That means 183.9 million people are vaccinated. And of course, they're pushing more toward that trend of the vaccination to help control. And as of our last Kiplinger letter, it was stated in there that there's some good news with respect to the COVID-19 surge decreasing. And it was, in comparing it to last fall where it was on the high surge, there's 2 things that make this happen, or looking at the difference from the numbers. First of all, 55% of the U.S. population is vaccinated. And then with the approval of shots for children 5 to 11, this will help the numbers drive up too, as far as the children being at the adult rate of 66%, as we see in the 66% of the adults. Second, the summer surge cases that were caused by Delta, these people, even if they haven't been vaccinated, are carrying the antibodies, so they're hoping that'll bring down the numbers as well. The U.S. should return to low pre-Delta infection levels by the end of November, according to the federal virus models that they're monitoring. So we're hoping for good news in that respect. And then on September 22nd, the FDA did authorize the Pfizer vaccine for the booster. And who is eligible for the booster after 6 months? Of course, they're looking at it after your last vaccine, 6 months later. They're looking at recipients 65 years or older, long-term care residents and staff, 18 plus who have underlying medical conditions including asthma, diabetes, and obesity, 18 plus that work and live in high-risk settings including healthcare workers, teachers, and grocery store workers. And this is just an update for the booster. If you have any questions regarding the COVID or the trends or the numbers, the vaccine rates, testing, anything regarding that, the CDC is a great website, but we also encourage you to go to your state website or your county website to get further information. And of course, we thank everybody's participation here as far as following the COVID protocol, and we just want everybody to be safe. Thank you.
you may be wondering, what does 185 mean? You might have seen the teaser for the KlingsporFIT Wellness Show from earlier, a few days ago, and I wanted to explain what 185 means. A few weeks ago, my colleague Haywood Easter, and I'm sharing this with his permission, by the way, came back from his annual physical, and he was a little bit disheartened because he works out all the time, he runs, he lifts weights, and when he went to the doctor, he weighed 185, which I think is probably an ideal weight for him, although I'm not a doctor, but that's my perception. And he went on to say that his doctor was not pleased with his weight of 185 and that she thought he probably should weigh somewhere in the 165 to 170 range. Well, it was long about this point in our conversation where I zoned out on Haywood and started thinking of myself, because I too weigh 185. And I thought, you know, it's high time that I move forward from my thinking that I want to get on a wellness journey and get on one. And I thought back about a wellness show from a few months ago where Tammy Guess interviewed Dr. George Place, who has made himself available to KlingSport employees who are interested in getting on a wellness journey. And I thought, what a more perfect person could there be? So I reached out to George, and he's here with us today to help me get started on this wellness journey. Hey George, how are you?
Hey Lorie, thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be a part of it, and we were talking off camera. I'm so proud of you. I mean, this is just very courageous to speak so openly, not just with me, but to everybody who wants to see this. You know, a lot of us don't want to talk about how much we weigh, and we were talking about also sometimes when you go public with a goal like this, that takes a lot of courage. I am the first to admit I have personal goals that I don't want to share with too many people because if I'm honest with myself, I worry that I won't achieve it. And I don't want people to know when I fail, and we were talking a little bit about that fear of failure.
Yeah, I am a little bit afraid of failure. You know, there's a lot of us who start a diet or start an exercise program and don't stick with it. And if I don't tell anybody what I weigh or what I'm doing or a goal, or don't try to solicit help like from you, it seems like if I'm only accountable to myself, that if I give up or say, never mind, it's, you know, it is a situation where I wouldn't have the embarrassment, but I also am not being held accountable by others. And I feel like the folks who watch the show are friends of mine, many of them are, and you know, with their support and your support, and you know, the company provides us a lot of mechanisms to make this easier on us. So I'm just putting it out there, and we'll keep track of how things go and answer to those calls when they come, I guess.
Yeah, well, I love that you frame it that way, and I'm certainly eager to be a part of your support structure in achieving what you want. And you know, I use that term failure. Sometimes a goal changes as you go along, right? And so a lot of us get on that scale and we think about a number that we want. And I always remind any client I work with, the number is about us getting to a place where we really feel good too.
Right, right.
Feeling high energy and feeling good is at the end of the day what we all want with our health. And sometimes that number is something that, you know, we measure ourselves by, but you know, the number changes. And you and I had a phone conversation about this. Your colleague sounds like he probably has more lean muscle mass than most people.
Absolutely, yes, for sure.
And we know lean muscle mass weighs more than fat. And so I've seen plenty of clients change diet, change activity, and their body changes and their health and energy changes, but the number doesn't change like they thought it would because they've gained more lean muscle mass, right? They lost some weight, they lost some excess fat tissue, gained lean muscle, and
It's a swap out.
It's a swap out. So I love the number. It gives us a measurable quantity, but I also always tell people don't, bow down to the number too much, right? The end goal is you feeling great, you feeling high energy, and so this can help us, but it's not the end all be all of your health.
Right. And there are some things that I would like to accomplish, and with those goals in mind as well as a lower number, I think it will be a very positive experience. I have a not so new anymore little granddaughter, and she is about 1.5, and she will sit down on the floor and she calls me Jommy, and she'll be Jommy, Jommy, and I'll be like, oh boy, now I got to get on the floor, or we'll be outside and she'll do that in the grass. And so I take my 185 body and sit it down on the ground outside, and that's okay. And then she jumps up and runs toward the edge of her yard, which is bordering a street. So now Jommy has to get up really quickly and go make sure that little Charlie doesn't get in the street. So one of my goals would be to have better leg and lower body strength so that I can do things with my grandchild. And, I just want to be more agile and not feel so creaky, let's say, when getting up and down to do those things. And I also, along the lines of lower body strength, my husband has a pickup truck that doesn't have side rails on it. So when I'm getting in the Dodge 3500, it's like, okay, where's the grab handle, and let me get my foot in the crevice just right so that I can use my upper body strength to help my weaker lower body strength. And I get that it's weak because it's carrying a lot. It's carrying more than I feel like a person my height should be carrying. And then one more point about a goal is that one of my favorite things to do for fun is ride horses. And you got to get up on that horse unless you find unless you have a mounting block, and if you're riding on a trail and you get off to look at a waterfall or something, now you have to get back up on the horse, and you mosey around the trail looking for a rock or a stump that can help you get up on the horse. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of really fit people who do that to make it less of a struggle on the horse, pulling on it to get on. But those are a few of my goals that coincide with just weight loss and being healthier.
That's great. I love it that you are very aware of your motivation. Keeping that in mind can be an important fuel source for you to do things when sometimes maybe we all have those days where we're not so motivated. And so having that list in your mind. Another thing I was really noting, what I'm hearing you talk about is a lot of functionality.
Yes.
You want to not only maybe lower your weight, but strengthen your body so that you can have these specific functions and activities in mind. So that really helps as we make that goal or goals around where you want to be health-wise. Knowing what you want helps quite a bit.
Yeah. And one thing that I do want to mention is, so I'm putting the number out there and I'm, being pretty transparent about that. But one thing that I do feel a little awkward about is going to the KlingsporFIT fitness room when the majority of people who use the room are already fit. They're well into their fitness journey. And while I realize that none of those folks would make fun of me or maybe even have a thought that they don't outwardly show, like, look at Chubbs over there, she's trying to do her leg lifts or whatever. But, you know, I do have a little bit of anxiety is too strong a word, but anxiousness about going in there and working out with others. So from what I saw on the interview between you and Tammy is that you can customize an exercise program to folks that suit them, whether they want to do something at home by themselves or with a neighbor, or if they want to go full bore and go to a fitness room and just jump right in. So at least to start with, I'm going to say that I want to be that person that does it maybe on their own or just with one friend or a neighbor or whatever. I'm not sure that I'm going to be that fitness room girl just right off the bat.
You know, that what you're describing, a lot of times trainers will hear that as kind of a gym intimidation factor.
Yes.
And super common. It is, for some people, that'll shut them down. They figure, well, I can't go to the gym, so I'm just not, you know, there's not a way to really be active. And I appreciate you giving me a little, what do I want to say, a little advertisement of there's lots of other ways to do it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I want to work with folks at KlingSport about, knowing all the different routes where you could get pockets of activity. You know, so I love that you started this conversation about what could be possible obstacles.
Yes.
And you've already identified going to the gym. It's really, you can tell that that's not going to be something you want to do. And so you're thinking about alternatives. Are there other obstacles that you think about when you imagine yourself in this place where now you're regularly getting up and down and up from the floor easily, or you're just jumping right into the truck or jumping on your horse? What were other obstacles that you imagined getting to that place?
Probably time management.
Yeah, very common.
Because it's hard for me, as well as a lot of people, I'm sure, to find the time to do the things they're already doing. Yeah. Okay, so now let's add another thing or two in there, and now we got to figure out how to, you know, where's the give and take in that. So it's a little bit the psychology of it and the time management of what am I gonna get up earlier? Probably not. Am I gonna take a walk at lunch? Maybe. I could probably do that. I feel like that's, you know, where instead of sitting around after a meal looking at Facebook, I could, you know, probably do something during the lunchtime hour. And then maybe something in the evening, like, you know, getting home after work and maybe taking a walk or doing some floor exercises or, you know, wherever you lead me in that respect. So I guess time management is an obstacle. Yeah. But again, you've already worked through the solutions. And this, you know, can I take a step back and talk about what we're doing? Yeah. In this conversation, this is anytime I work with clients on a new health program or helping them get to a health goal, it always starts with this conversation. And what's astounding is the old way of doing training was, and we still do this, and I can still fall into this trap, the trainer or the doctor or whoever is the health professional, they have all this knowledge and they sit down and they tell you, you really ought to do this, you ought to do that, except we know that doesn't work very well. Because I don't know Lorie's schedule, I don't know Lorie's perceptions around things or you know, the intimate details of your life like you do. And I think what you're revealing so well is the answers really are relying within you. And a good trainer can help you talk it through and then come to realize, oh, okay, this is the low-hanging fruit to get you to that next level of where you want to be in healthy living. Now,
You're an exceptional person because you've been thinking about this a lot. So
Way too long.
but for some folks, they really haven't had that chance to really think it through. And so this interview, this conversation can serve as that. And I want to say to anybody that's watching, these conversations typically are very confidential, right?
Right.
And so, there's a lot of trust if you sit down and, many of you don't know me. And so even just sitting down and building rapport can be the first step so that we feel comfortable to talk about these things.
Right.
But you and I have been interacting for a while now. And
Yeah.
I just want folks to know this is not a typical conversation in that
Right.
way. But
And people don't have to share anything more than what they feel comfortable sharing. And to also mention, you are HIPAA certified, correct?
Yes, I am. That's right.
You are bound by that certification.
That's right.
To keep everyone's secrets and not to tell what someone shares with
That's
any other KlingSpor person, employee, management, or whatever. That's between you and the client, so to speak.
Absolutely, and that level of confidentiality, I think, can make people feel safe to come out with some of these things. And the other thing I want to say is, as we go on your journey, and I'm really honored to be a part of it. You won't feel, and I hope you won't feel, I'll continue to reinforce this, but I will do everything in my power to let you know I'm not judging you. I've worked with a lot of different clients, and I want you to know that when you're with me, it's a judgment-free zone, but more of where are we now, and if we need to get back on track, how can I help you best to get back on track? If you're on track, how can I be the person that helps you stay and continue to do what you want to do? But everybody is different in this way. And so as a trainer, my goal is to be curious and get to know you and understand you and then help you to continue to get where you're at. Not make you feel shame or guilt or concern about how I'm going to view you or what I'm going to say about that. And so that's a very important element of my job as a trainer and as a health professional.
Well, I appreciate that, and I have sensed that about you, and I feel like that you just want to help people.
Yeah,
and
it
you've
really
even told some stories along about how that in different situations in your life where you maybe came to a crossroads and you took a turn to help people more than to be neutral or to hurt people, like with your fighting career when
Yes.
you were an athlete doing fighting.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I've had so many people help me. I look back on all those people and I think the best way that I can honor all the people that helped me get out of, I was in a bad way, at a different time in my life. So that's how I try to honor those people. So anyway, I want to say that to anybody that might be watching this and think, do I want to do that? I don't know. That looks pretty intimidating. She's going all out. This is a very special conversation, really. And so, all right, let's come back to what we're talking about. So I love that you're very aware of obstacles that might be out there, and we've talked about a couple. The gym intimidation factor,
Yes.
which is very common, universal.
And some of that, just to interject,
Oh, please.
is not just the people in there, but I don't know how to set up the equipment, which I know is a part of what any trainer worth his weight is going to train you to do. But
Sure.
so I know there's ways around things, but that's just another thing that is, to me, that I find intimidating in the gym scenario. Back to you.
Oh yeah, and then the other universal obstacle, right? Time.
Yes.
Oh gosh, if only we could just give up sleep.
Yes.
Which
Can't
we
do
know
that.
what happens when you give up sleep,
Yeah, that's
right?
bad.
It's not good. So I love that you know what you really don't want to do. Getting up earlier,
Yeah.
that's not in the cards for you. So
No.
why would we try to push that?
Right.
But I am hearing you say, hey, maybe something at lunch, right? Let's go into that a little bit. What if you imagine yourself making a lifestyle change about maybe getting some activity at lunch? What does that look like? I heard you mention walking or...
For me, I think it starts out with walking. Ages ago, I did do some jogging. I wouldn't ever call it running, but just jogging. Sure. And maybe working into that. I can see myself walking on the trail here at the company or around the block down to McDonald Parkway and back. And there are some people who already do that, which, I could see that as a motivation once I get out there. I know there are some folks who are, they're going to be walking so fast or running that I'll just be waving to them out in the front there. And but I think that's a very good possibility.
I love that. I love that possibility. And, for you to make a switch and all of a sudden start walking during lunch, what would you have to do differently? What would you have to bring something or manage the schedule in a different way?
I would think that I could simply bring my lunch, and instead of having to go somewhere and spend time driving back and forth and waiting in a drive-through line or sitting at a restaurant or whatever, if I would bring my lunch, I would have plenty of time, I think, to get in a 30-minute walk or working up to a 30-minute walk.
Love that. Great. Okay. And what about clothes, shoes? Do you feel you would just be able to just walk right out the door and go for a walk? You don't need anything special?
To start with, probably not. As the walks get longer, then maybe I would bring some clothes to change into.
I remember, I bet you do too, because I called you out the first time I met you on a Zoom.
Yeah.
I used you as an example. I didn't even know you. And I said, now who is this gal who has on the very functional yet stylish shoes?
Yep.
Because, I'm not great about functional and stylish. I always wear these shoes. You can see how they're a little dirty right now.
Functional.
But functional. I think functional. But I'll find myself sometimes in meetings where I should have on more polished shoes than I've got on these. So, but I really like that you figured out both. You can have shoes that you feel you're professional, but at the same time you're thinking, can I walk around quite a bit?
Right. And some of that, just to bring us back to a weight loss goal, some of my stylish yet functional shoes are a result of me not feeling comfortable in high heels anymore. Because as my weight has increased over many years, the shoes get less and less comfortable. So that's, didn't really start out being a goal, but now that we're talking about shoes, maybe I'll jump into some high heels again sometime in the upcoming weeks.
So, Lorie, thinking about you making this change, now you're walking at lunch and you're bringing your lunch. Out of the 5 work days, how many days do you imagine making this change?
Well, I would like to say 5, and there be an exception if I have an errand that I have to run, and again, there comes time management. Can I do a couple errands that need to be done that week on the same day so that I don't miss more than one walk or whatever? I would say I would be happy with myself if I walked 3 times a week during the lunch time, and more if possible.
I love that. That's a really specific goal. 3 times, but hey, if you've got more time, you could potentially do it every day. And when do you imagine starting this routine?
Monday.
This Monday?
Yes.
I love it. So, one of my objectives when I get to have a conversation with somebody, you're at a stage in behavior change where you're ready.
Yes.
You're not ambivalent about it. And so for a lot of folks, we can't get to this so quickly.
Yeah.
But you've been thinking about it. You've been ready to make a change. And so when I sit down with someone like you, one of my objectives is let's set a goal. Let's set, I don't know if they do the SMART goal. Most folks at work, you talk about that SMART goal, the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and on a timetable. And so it sounds like we've already got a SMART goal around this change at lunch. let me make sure I got this right. So you're talking about starting Monday,
Yes,
walking at least 3 days out of the week, maybe 5 if you can,
yes.
and you want to do half an hour of walking? Or what do you think? Starting out, what is a realistic amount of walking that you would do?
I would say with a clothes change, if I do that when I first start, that between the clothes change and the clothes change back, that and the walking in between, that cycle takes 30 minutes.
Okay, okay.
So that probably represents 20 minutes of walking.
I like that, okay. Great, all right, 20 minutes of walking. And is part of that goal packing a lunch?
Yes,
So you're gonna pack a lunch at least 3 out of the 5 days.
yes.
Okay. That's great. That's a great goal. Anything else? Any other changes that you see that are kind of low-hanging fruit? That's something that you could start to make right away?
Well, I think with me packing a lunch, just a byproduct of that will be that I'm eating healthier.
I know. I was saying the same thing. I was like, well, this
You
is like
were dragging me down that path.
Yeah, I mean, you were
I
already
felt
there.
it.
You were there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole other bonus about it, right? You're getting the double on this one.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to be conscious of, just to start with, and this may get bigger as I move forward, I just want to be more conscious of my white and yellow carb intake, because I know that those are the carbs that have the most sugar, and we all know what our bodies do with high sugar intake. So
Sure.
I feel like that will be a logical step along with this lunch prep and exercise.
Could we talk about that a little bit more?
Sure.
So when you talk about white and yellow carbs, what are some of the things that maybe you're eating now that you would include in that category?
Maybe like potatoes, baked potatoes, even roasted potatoes. I mean, they're delicious and it's not French fries, but still, the potatoes just have a really high sugar content.
Sure.
And sweet corn, one of my favorites, but not the best for us.
Okay.
And corn products too.
Okay.
Breads.
All right.
I'm okay giving up breads. I'm not, breads are handy for holding together a sandwich and things like that, but I'm thinking that there may be I'm a white bread girl with Duke's mayonnaise and tomato and salt to make a sandwich.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I know
traditional.
that there are some alternatives to that can come with some good flavor and to be healthier.
What would be an alternative you're thinking of?
Like a multi-grain bread.
Okay.
Maybe. Do you agree with that? Because I'm just grasping at straws there. I mean, I think that is a healthier alternative to a white bread. Yes.
I think it is a healthy step. When I see that term glycemic index, you're talking about that sugar. Well, how fast does it go from your stomach to your blood?
Yeah.
And white bread, I think, has about the highest glycemic index, like pure sugar almost. And so having more fiber in your bread is definitely going to help.
Yeah.
What other kind of diet switches do you imagine making?
Well, one of my favorite foods is French fries, and another favorite is pizza.
Oh yeah.
And first of all, the fries are fried, and they're potatoes, so that's going to be a no-no. And I feel like, to be realistic with myself, that I may not give up fries for always, and maybe that having a fry might, and my husband will cut up potatoes and fry them in a fryer that we have on our deck.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit too much to imagine, I'll never taste French fries again. People I know for myself, I throw in the towel if I imagine a goal like that. That's not realistic.
I do recall ages ago when I went on a fitness journey after my second child was born, that after I got into the journey and had made adjustments in my diet, that you have those fries on that special occasion and you're like, oh my God, this is so greasy, and why did I even think I wanted to cheat with this? Because what I thought the wonderful taste was doesn't seem worth it anymore. It's like your body adjusts to your new healthier foods, and it doesn't crave those bad for you foods like it once did.
It's so true. It's that chasing the dragon, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that we've convinced ourselves it's going to be so good, and then you eat it and you're like,
Not worth it.
yeah. Well, so perhaps maybe some of these changes could be a part of that packing a lunch goal. What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What would be some of the things that you'd want to get into that lunch that you would pack?
I see myself bringing a salad,
Okay.
and maybe that might come with some toppings like nuts or sprouts. And I don't know, maybe I don't want to give up fruit. I know that a lot of fruits have sugar, but I feel like I need to have something that tastes fun, and I like citrusy flavors, and so I'm seeing myself maybe having a salad with some nuts and then maybe a fruit as a dessert.
That's great. Most people are like, what? This is you indulging fruit? So good for you.
Well, it's I've heard Christoph say that if you're accustomed to eating 2 quarter pounders with cheese, if you eliminate one, you're making a step in the right direction. So
absolutely, that's right. So if we were to think about eating those things in your lunch, how can we make that a goal? What would be a reasonable goal, say, for a work week in regards to, we were talking about doing it 3 times a week at least.
Yeah.
And what do you think would be a way to articulate that goal around the type of lunch that you want to pack and that you want to be eating in the day? Like a salad every time, or?
Well, I know that having the same thing for lunch every day sounds boring to a lot of people, but for me, if I know what I'm going to prepare and I don't, just the thought process of what am I going to have is kind of sends me in a tailspin.
Yeah.
So I would rather have the same boring salad all of those 3 days than to wonder what am I going to have, because now the plan's over. Just execute the plan and don't have to think about it or think, well, I really wanted to take some steamed broccoli today, but don't have broccoli. So at least within a given week, maybe bring the same thing for lunch each of those 3 days.
Okay.
And that's a little bit, just to be totally honest, laziness on my part.
Well, I really agree with you, and I've listened to a lot of psychologists talk about how much energy we have in a day to make all the decisions we make. That's a finite amount of energy.
Yeah.
Taking this off your decision making frees you up for other mental energy tasks. So, I think the pros agree with what you're talking about. So could we say then that a goal with the walking 20 minutes a day, at least 3 days a week, would include packing a salad lunch?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, okay, there we go. I think that's a really tremendous goal. Anything else?
Well, at some point, I'm hoping, maybe not today, but I'm hoping that we can pick a time in the near future where you might help me with this leg strength and maybe show me some things that I can be doing. But we can, I guess, maybe baby steps to start with, and let's get some walking under our belt and a food intake change. And do you think that makes sense? That at some point in the future you show me some exercises that would be the next steps to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, I was going to ask you if it was okay if I'd love to check back with you at least once a week, see how things are going,
That'll be perfect.
And you know, what's next if you get to that stage? And certainly what I'm hearing is probably what's up next is doing these specific exercises and getting maybe a routine around the training for the functional things that you want to be doing.
Yeah,
So
I think that sounds great.
that's great.
I'm looking
Wow.
forward to getting started.
Good work. Yeah, thank you. Me too. I'm looking forward to be a part of your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorie.
We're going to give you some information on a different video as to how you can sign up to have a meeting with George to get started on your fitness journey. That may be on the computer on Inside KlingSport, and it may also be on a sign-up sheet that you would find in the big break room downstairs. So look forward to having that available to you soon. Boy, all that talk about diet and exercise has made me hungry. So let's jump right into the introduction of our guest chef for the evening, our own Pajah Barnes from the HR department. Come on in. Hello. As you can see, her family and friends have deemed her queen in the kitchen. So I'm going to deem her queen in the KlingSport kitchen.
Oh no,
So,
that's a big title. Thank
I'm
you
sure
so
can do it.
much.
Enjoy yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to be making spaghetti with zucchini noodles because why not? I love this dish because it's just very simple to make, and spaghetti is just so delicious. So I'm gonna cut up a couple of these, I'm gonna put some gloves on, and then I'm gonna cut up a couple of things here. So first I have is an onion. Whatever onion you want to use is fine. It's just whatever your preference is. I just usually get like a small yellow onion, and I pretty much just dice it. I kind of slice it first, and then I go back and I dice it. But no perfect size or shape, just whatever works. And then we're gonna cut up some bell peppers here. I usually, whenever I make it, I usually do like 2 bell peppers, but it's totally up to you. I usually do like a yellow or red or orange, but these are good too. So I'm just kind of like slicing these. There's not a certain size or anything or any certain way to slice them. Just whatever you're comfortable with and what your preference is, really. So I got my red one. I'm gonna get this orange one or yellow. Looks kind of orangey yellow. And then I also add some baby Bella mushrooms. You can buy them pre-sliced, but I guess I like to make my life complicated and I just cut them myself, or I slice them myself. So just slice up the mushrooms, whichever way you like them. Okay. And then I always like some fresh garlic as well. So I'm just gonna mince a clove of garlic here. Okay. So that was pretty much it. So for the meat substitute, usually a lot of people make their spaghetti with ground beef, but I found this like vegan alternative, which is really yummy, and I honestly can't even tell the difference whenever I eat it. It's called Morning Star Farms, and it's strictly just vegan. But it's called the Veggie Crumbles. So it's like, it's pretty much a substitute for ground beef. So let's turn this on real quick. And we're gonna get cooking. So I have the zucchini noodles here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start cooking the pasta sauce or the spaghetti sauce, and then once that is kind of all put together, while I'm waiting for the sauce to heat up and everything's cooking, then I'll start to spiral some of the zucchini noodles with my spiraler over here. So we'll get this stove hot and ready. And I'll be using extra virgin olive oil. Typically when I cook, I really don't use any seasoning, so you will not see me use any kind of seasoning tonight. I usually just stick with the pasta sauce, and then it just kind of goes from there. I usually just stay away from seasoning. So with these veggie crumbles, the first time I think I used them, just a tip, first time I used them, I don't know why I did not use any oil with it. So just make sure it does say to add oil and then add these in there. And these are actually in the frozen section. And you're supposed to keep them frozen until you're ready to use them. So they were sitting in the freezer for before I pulled them out for this. So I'm just heating up some oil real quickly into this little pan. We're gonna wait that to heat up. And then we're gonna put the garlic in here. Toast it up. Let me open this. There we go. So, just put a little bit of garlic in here. I'm pretty much cooking this on a medium-high temperature. You don't want it too high because you don't want to burn your garlic. But you just pretty much cook it to like where it's like a little toasty golden color. And then it'll be ready for the meat. I love garlic. It smells delicious. So I usually just like to move it around because I don't like the potential of my garlic to get burnt. Okay. All right, so now that I'm seeing it getting that golden color, I'm gonna start adding some of these crumbles to it. And these crumbles don't really take that long to cook, should be only about 2 or 3 minutes, and then they should be ready. And you can kind of tell once they're ready. Just breaking some of the frozen clumps up by pressing it down gently. Like as you would with your ground beef. All right, so once most of the veggie crumbles kind of, you can tell whenever it starts to cook in here, when it's ready, I usually put in the onions for a little bit so it can kind of saute together and then go from there. So, just gonna add a couple of onions in here. And it looks like I didn't add enough oil, so sometimes if I see that it's starting to get a bit dry in here, I just go back and add some more oil because I've done it before and it just tastes really dry. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more in there so we can cook the onions as well. Breaking up the little dices that I have. All right, so now I'm going to add some bell peppers. And sliced baby bella mushrooms. And mushrooms, I've heard, is a very, very good substitute for meat. Sometimes, like if you wanted to, instead of using the veggie crumbles, you could just get a couple of mushrooms and like chop them up and then use it instead of the ground beef or the crumbles. So just gonna toss this around. Let it cook for a little bit. And then kind of mix it, and then I'm gonna just add I got this roasted garlic pasta sauce. So, let's see here. I kind of just add it small amounts at a time. Kind of see how that goes. Turn the heat down just a little bit. All right, so while that is cooking, I'm gonna go over here and get started on the zucchini noodles. So they say that one medium zucchini size makes about a cup of noodles. So I usually cut off the ends. Make sure to keep the skin on the zucchini noodles on when you're about to put it in your spiraler. Turn that down just a little bit. I usually turn down the temperature on the stove just to let my sauce simmer and then go from there. So I got this little neat little spiraler for Christmas, and it's super, super duper cool. So I'm gonna put this, you gotta have something to catch your noodles. So I'm gonna put this little zucchini on my spiraler, just like that. And I'm just going to spiral. You can see the noodles are coming out on the other side. And I don't cook my my noodles. I usually just eat them raw. So, but it's your preference. I've seen recipes where they cook their noodles. But yes, it's important to keep the skin on whenever you are spiraling your zucchini, because if you don't, you'll just get a bunch of mushy zucchini and there would be no noodles. So let's not do that. And that's how I make my zucchini noodles. So I'm gonna pull this out to the side here. And my sauce has been simmering. Looks like it is ready. So now I'm going to fix a little plate. Let's see here. Wow, look at those zucchini noodles. Look at that. So cool. Obviously you can cut them, but I like my noodles long like that. Oh gosh. That's a lot of noodles. Okay, I'm gonna break that one up. Okay, turn the stove off. Oh God, that smells good. Okay, that's it. Voila. All right, should I taste it? But that's it, you guys. That's how I make my zucchini spaghetti noodles. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go, go, go. What are we? Oh, come back.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
It smells so good in here. You guys would not believe it. Maybe sometime soon after we get past this COVID thing, we'll start having a studio audience, so we can look forward to that.
Yes.
But this looks awesome, and I hope you're going to share.
Oh, there will be lots of sharing going on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, of course.
So next we have Dr. George Place, who is going to share with us some grocery shopping hacks for eating healthy and saving money.
Well, hello everyone. It's me, George Place, with the Cooperative Extension Service, and I'm in the KlingsporFIT kitchen. This is a really nice kitchen, by the way. And tonight, I want to share with you some tips about just some simple grocery shopping hacks and saving money, but also maybe meeting some better eating goals that some of you might have. And I'll tell you, it's interesting what we're going to talk about in this short little clip goes really well with what Lorie was talking about in the interview, and I just want you to know we didn't plan that, but Lorie's goal of wanting to pack a healthier lunch throughout the week fits right with what I'm going to present to you right now. So let me give you a little scenario that maybe some of you watching might be able to relate with. So I don't know about you, but in the afternoon, I'm trying to cut back on caffeine after noon because I know it affects my sleep. But I'm a total coffee hound, and oh my gosh, 3 o'clock rolls around, and I struggle a little bit. Maybe you do too. And so maybe you have a ritual where you head down to the vending machines to get a little bit of a sugar boost. And let's say that you just spend $2. I don't even know what things really cost in the vending machines here. Maybe $2 is not realistic, and maybe it's more. But for these purposes, let's just keep it $2. You get a snack, you get a beverage, and that's that 3 o'clock ritual. All right, what does that look like as far as maybe some savings goals that you have? So $2 a day, a work week, pretty easy math, right? That's $10. And if you take that over a work month, we're just talking about $42, right? Well, over an entire work year, that's $500. Still not crazy. Where it becomes a pretty massive amount is imagining the long haul with a very humble interest rate. So I'm going to put that humble interest rate at 4% interest over a 20-year period. That small little ritual comes to just over $15,000. That's real money, right? Again, that's 4% compounded interest. But hey, in normal times, that's just the interest rate you would get for a CD. If you're actually investing your retirement savings in a 401k stock market, well, you can expect a higher interest rate. So that consistent little spending is real money. I'll give you another example. Maybe you have a ritual about buying breakfast. And again, $7, is that reasonable? Hey, I know for when my wife gets a Starbucks coffee and she gets the, the latte, vanilla, skim milk, that by itself I think is $7. So we'll just keep it at 7, right? Maybe you just grab a biscuit and a cheap cup of coffee and whatever else, $7, but it's a daily ritual, right? Well, what does that look like over the long haul? Same math, we're talking about $51,500 over a 20-year period. That's serious, right? And you can imagine $10 lunch. And again, right, can you even eat a lunch for $10? Maybe it's more if you're including the tip. And I hope you're tipping. Our restaurant folks need it these days, right? So it adds up, right? Well, that ritual of eating out lunch, $73,600 over a 20-year period. So this is real money. And of course, hey, do we make the best choices when we eat out? Not always. Of course, I'm not suggesting never eat out. But what I am suggesting is maybe you change that ritual and you could choose something that you bought at the grocery store and not only save some money, but perhaps also make a healthier choice, right? So you get this double benefit. All right, my first tip, pack a snack. There's so many great items, and definitely pack something that you really like. Don't pack something that you ought to be eating, but you're really not going to be excited about it, because if you've got a container of raw broccoli, you're probably going down to the vending machine at 3 o'clock. I'll tell you, I'm not a huge fan of carrots. I mean, it's just whatever, right? A carrot is whatever. But I have found if I take carrots to the office, a lot of times when I'm snacky, what it really means is I'm sleepy. I'm just bored, right? But if I start just chewing on something, a carrot is better than a pin for me. And I find that it gets what I need. I don't need to go and eat something that doesn't make me feel good. As a side note, you know, most of the food we eat is soft food. And so your jaw and your teeth a lot of times don't even get that kind of, that crunchy texture, that workout that they need. And so maybe choosing carrots, it's a cheap one, that's what I go to, but any of these can be great. And if you're getting particularly hungry, let me suggest that you add in a little bit of fat. You know, I think fat has been demonized over the last couple of decades, but really it's not a justified demonization. Choose good fat. I didn't put this on the slide, but an avocado makes an excellent snack. Let's talk about breakfast. Oh, wait, before we jump to breakfast, let me give you 3 more tips that don't even include eating something, but it's part of that snackiness feeling you might get. Sometimes you just need water. You know, the sensation of being hungry can be mixed with actually you're thirsty. And most of us have hydration goals. So just taking a big swig of water can give you some satiety and really keep your energy levels up. If you're dehydrated, your energy will go down. So that's fact. So consider just having some readily available water. I'll tell you another one I go to when I'm trying to cut down on some excess calories, just a piece of gum. A lot of times I might get snacky, again, because I'm bored or because I don't like the taste in my mouth, right? If I've been sitting there doing a little bit of office work for a while, I get office mouth, which is not great sometimes. So I could eat a piece of gum, right? Sugar-free. Now don't blame me if you go to the dentist and have 5 cavities. I had a friend who was eating Altoids, but they were the sugary Altoids, and he got a serious number of cavities. So think about that. Or even better, right? Make your dentist happy. Brush your teeth. Again, just a quick little ritual that you can replace the vending machine ritual. Anytime that you're trying to change a habit, we need to replace the habit with something else. So just some different ideas to consider. All right, let's talk about that breakfast ritual. Anytime you're trying to change behavior, one of the keys is making it easy. The easier it is, the more likely you are to do it. So a few ideas I threw up on this slide at the bottom are these jars with instant oatmeal. And by instant oatmeal, let me back up. They're actually steel cut or whole oatmeal. I'm not talking about the packets, because a lot of times those are maybe sugary to the extent that it's not going to be great for you. But you can put those in a jar and then add in water, milk, almond milk, whatever you like. And overnight, that soaking will soften that oatmeal. You can mix it with fruit. There's all kinds of great recipes online. If you feel like you need a little protein, maybe a little fat with it, add peanut butter. Peanut butter and bananas is my go-to with oatmeal. I love it. It's an easy one, right? Because it's already in the jar. You're ready to go to work, just grab it and go. That can be a new ritual for you. Maybe breakfast burritos. My wife and I used to do that for years. Right now, we're on the middle one, which is smoothies. And maybe a good veggie omelet. Again, that veggie omelet, I love it because it gives you some protein, gives you some fat, and you're going to feel like you got a real meal, and you filled up. But whatever it is, make it easy. Make it something that you're really likely to do. Sometimes you can make it the night before, and you're ready to go. For the lunches, prepping on the weekend can be something to think about to add into your strategies. So for example, we'll make a big crock pot of stew or beans. We'll use our rice cooker, make some rice. You can mix up veggies in the rice. And we'll have these huge containers that we can just draw from and make different meals. If you want to have a salad with that, have a larger salad pre-made that you can pull off of during the week. And if you haven't done this yet, make an investment on containers. You can go online or go to one of your local stores and find all these really nice containers about the size of a lunch for you. So imagine it's Sunday afternoon, you've got time, you prep these meals, and as you pull it out of the crock pot or out of whatever cooker you're using, you can just pre-pack your Monday meal, your Tuesday meal, and so on, and it's ready to go. Maybe you do that for a spouse or somebody else living in your house, your children. And it's going to make choosing a healthier meal that much easier for you and thus more likely to do. So those are some tips, and take it or leave it, but maybe it can give you some ideas about some ritual that you would have. And let me leave you with some grocery shopping tips. So I have people talk to me about wanting to make better choices at the grocery store. And I'll tell you, it's funny when I go to, especially if I go to Sam's Club or in Kansas City, it's Costco, that's where my parents live. And I'll go with my mom and dad. And my dad is such a jokester, but he's kind of serious. As we're going around with the cart, he's throwing in all this junk food. He's throwing in the giant cheese puff thing. He's throwing in donuts and cakes when we're not looking. And he very much likes to play the Homer Simpson of shopping. And it's cute, but he's kind of serious. And so my first tip is don't take bad influences if you're trying to go shopping and really make good choices. So, if you have kids that just make you buy the sugary cereal and other junk, can you go shopping without them? Maybe that would help. I'll tell you the big one is make a list. Make a list and stick to the plan. Marketing knows that we're impulse buyers, right? Why do you think all those candy bars are right there at checkout? Why do you think all the refrigerated, enticing beverages are right there? Because they know at that last minute, you'll get tempted and do it. So I encourage you, make a plan, that's the grocery shopping list, and stick to it, right? No temptations. And my last tip about that, how do you ward off temptations? Don't go hungry to the grocery store. When you go shopping, do it after you have eaten a very satisfying meal. If you're full, you're less likely to be tempted. And for that matter, don't go grocery shopping when you're stressed out or if you're sleep deprived, both of which we know make you snackier. And boy, you're prone to buy some things and bring into the house that maybe you really don't want to be bringing into the house and making part of your eating ritual. So I hope these tips help. And if you've got tips to add to this, I'd love to hear about them. I mean, there's a lot of great knowledge out there, and I think it's better when we all share with each other. I love working with you all, and I hope to meet some of you soon. And stay with it. You can make changes in your health and feel better and have more energy. Thanks again.
Thank you, George. That's some great information. We really appreciate it. Now we'd like to introduce you guys to someone we met last week, and she couldn't be here live today because she was going on vacation the day after we met her, but we're talking about Marion Erickson. She is a Canadian-born and North Carolina-based voiceover artist. She and her husband and daughters went plant-based in the summer of 2019 for health benefits, and upon further education, they went vegan shortly thereafter. She created the Plant-Based Briefing podcast because she wanted to increase awareness and share information about plant-based and vegan lifestyles. Her goal is to make it easier for people to continue learning about plant-based, vegan, compassionate, and sustainable living. She says, there's so much great plant-based content online. There are countless blogs, posts, and articles on a variety of topics like plant-based health and nutrition, animal welfare and liberation, animal agriculture and the environment, eco-friendly, sustainable living, and plant-based food, travel, and lifestyle. She loves to learn about all of these topics. The beauty of having this information curated and presented in a podcast is twofold. Marion does the research and curating for you. There's so much information that it can be overwhelming. You can listen while you do other things, when you're commuting, out for a run, walking the dog, or getting things done around the house. You can be educating or entertaining yourself at the same time. That's the beauty of her podcast, and that's why she loves doing it so much. The Plant-Based Briefing is modeled after Justin Malik's Optimal Living podcast. Marion reached out to Justin, and he gave her some great advice to help her launch the podcast. She says that she's not an expert on these topics, but she does love to research and learn about the importance of plant-based and vegan living on our health, the environment, animals, and human rights. As a voiceover artist with a home recording studio, it was a natural for her to curate and share the information with you on her podcast. So you can look forward to having Marion as a live guest with us over the next few weeks. She has also volunteered to do some cooking here in the kitchen, and so we look forward to great things with the information that she shares with us. We appreciate all the time that you've spent with us this evening. We've covered a lot of topics and had some delicious food made, and we look forward to seeing you around the office or on email if you're dialed in from Mexico. So we appreciate it, and have a great rest of your evening.